Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, June 7th. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll quickly recap what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a loss with the Cubs and Rockies over 8.5, as the game ended up, I believe it was 3-1 for the Rockies. Rockies started an unknown prospect who had an ERA above 5 in the minors. Lambert, he was remarkable in his MLB debut as he ended up going 7 innings and gave up 1 run. He was great. Quintana was pretty solid, but overall, both teams had chances, couldn't really generate. They ended up losing. It happens there. But with that being said, we're going to go right back into the MLB with another play of the day. And in this game, we are actually going to be going to one of our favorite moves in this game, which is the Homer Bailey fade, as it is Homer Bailey Day on this Friday. And we will be taking the Chicago White Sox, which is available at plus 110. On the road at Kansas City, and that game should be tipping off at roughly 8:15. In this game, you have an awful pitching matchup, not going to sugarcoat it, between Ivan Nova, former Yankee, and Homer Bailey. Both pitchers have ERAs above 6. Both of them have not been solid by any means during the season, but at the same point, I simply just think there is enough value with the White Sox to take them. White Sox, surprisingly, people have not realized this. They're only 3 games under 500. I know the AL Central has been slacking this year, especially with the Indians, who are expected to do well. I know the Twins have run away with that division already, but the White Sox are only 3 games under, and Nova's struggled, but he's had okay numbers against the Royals in the past. But overall, White Sox have actually won 5 of Nova's last 7 starts, so they've actually done pretty well with him. Most of Nova's terrible numbers have to do with the awful April that he had. He's actually been pretty decent over the last month or so. Homer Bailey, on the other hand, 4-6, 6.05 ERA. Royals have lost each of his last 4 starts. And the Royals are also in the middle of a 6-game losing streak after getting swept by the Red Sox during this past week. So, for me, I know that the White Sox have been terrible on the road. I know that they're not a great team by any means. But there's no way that Kansas City should be a minus 120 favorite in this game with Bailey on the mound. I don't understand that at all. Money's come in on the Royals. To be honest, I don't really care. I don't know why you'd want to back the Royals right now, who've lost 6 straight and don't even have 20 wins yet on the season. I'll take the White Sox with Nova. Both bullpens are terrible, so that's a wash. And I think the White Sox do have a better lineup. If you look at the lineups right now, Moncada will be playing. Abreu will be playing. Eloy Jimenez is finally back. Upcoming prospect for the White Sox. He's back from injury. You still have Tim Anderson in the lineup, who's batting roughly .320. I think that the White Sox lineup's actually not that bad. The issue has been the pitching. And the Royals are sticking with their usual lineup. It has been okay lately. But overall, I definitely think the Royals should not be favored at minus 120 in this game. So I think there is value on this one. But, yeah, that's the thing, though, is that if the White Sox, Bookie Lover, good point. I guess you could view it as a potential, revenge thing there with Kansas City. But to be honest, Kansas City is such a bad team. I doubt that they're really going to care about beating the White Sox in a regular season game. Their team's terrible. They've lost 6 straight. Clearly, the Royals knew going into the year that their team would be terrible. The White Sox went into the season with a bunch of young talent that they were hoping could bring the team to somewhat respectability. And that's kind of what they have now. They're only 3 games under. And in the AL Central, their division's terrible. They could potentially, right now, come in second place in the division. I mean, they're 12 games back of the Twins. They're only a game and a half back of second place. So I think that the White Sox might actually, kind of view that as a momentum booster because of the fact that the White Sox have finished in the basement of that division for years. But White Sox lost the last 2 to the Nationals. I mean, they lost the last one in walk-off fashion from a Trey Turner home run. But I simply just like the value with the White Sox. I'm not going to spend much time on it here. But the play of the day will be on the White Sox simply because I just think there's value here, and I do not trust Homer Bailey at all. So I think Nova will pitch okay. I think the White Sox should generate some runs. So the White Sox plus 110 money line will be the play of the day. But now going into the leans for the rest of the day. First thing is the game that everyone wants to talk about, which is Game 4 of the NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. I'm assuming that everyone has heard this, but if you have been living under a rock, Klay Thompson will be playing in this game, and Kevin Durant will not. It should come as a surprise to anybody. It was kind of a shock that Klay Thompson did not play in Game 3. I know that when I gave out my leans for Game 3, I originally leaned to the Warriors, but that was I announced beforehand that I was under the assumption that Klay Thompson would end up playing. The fact that Clay will be playing, does that mean a ton for the Warriors? It helps, especially after Curry drops 47, you still lose by double digits. That's definitely not a good sign. But keep in mind, though, even though Clay is playing, he's definitely not going to be anywhere near 100%. I'd expect him to be somewhere around 70%. I know Klay Thompson's a very good shooter, and I get that, but I think it's going to impact him defensively. It's pretty tough to, guard the opponent's best player when you're suffering from a leg injury, and I can only imagine Klay trying to guard Kawhi or even Siakam or any of these people, and I think he will have issues on the defensive end. In terms of this game, I am going to lean to the Warriors, though. I think Toronto, I'm not saying that they're not going to try to win this game because obviously they'd love to take a 3-1 series lead against the two-time defending champions. At the same point, though, Golden State, I think, knows that it's must-win territory. Toronto knows that they did what they needed to do in Golden State, which is that they stole home court advantage back again. So Toronto can be content with taking 1 out of 2 against the Warriors in their back pocket. And if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world, as they will have 2 of the next 3 in Toronto. I think if the Warriors lose this game and they go down 3-1, I think the series is over. So, yeah, Guap, I agree with you here. I think you just summed it up perfectly. I think if the Warriors lose tonight, I think the series is over. So I expect the Warriors to come out completely focused, and I think the Warriors will try to punch Toronto in the mouth. Do I think that they will struggle initially trying to get some flow? Maybe. I expect the Warriors to definitely adjust their defensive game planning, though, as their defense was terrible in Game 3, and as the Raptors ended up scoring 120-something points there. I believe every starter for the Raptors in Game 3 had at least 17 points, and I found that absurd to me. I mean, of course, you have some exceptions or some anomalies there. Danny Green scoring 17 points. He's done well in this series, but overall, I mean, I think that he just got hot at the right time. Kyle Lowry shot the lights out. I don't expect him to do the same thing tonight. Leonard and Siakam, I do think will continue to do well, as they are, in my opinion, the 2 best players on the team by a wide margin. But in terms of the game here, the Warriors supporting cast just didn't show up. Boogie Cousins was by far the worst player in the entire court in Game 3. I know he's still rehabbing an injury. He has to play better significantly because of the fact that he cannot play any worse than he did in Game 3. Yeah, worthy of the play that I'm going with is the White Sox on the money line, so just keep that in mind. But in terms of this game, I will lean to the Warriors at -4.5, but shop around for that one. And I would also lean to the under. I know that money has come in a little bit on the under. I think that with Klay Thompson back, he is definitely one of the better defenders for Golden State. I think he will play better, and I think he will definitely help their defensive rotations. And I also think Golden State will come up with a different type of game plan to try to stop Toronto. Toronto did whatever they wanted for the entire 4 quarters, and I think Klay being out helped with that. But at the same point, Golden State, I trust Steve Kerr. I think he'll be able to get something going there. So for me, I will lean to the Warriors and the under. I think this game will finish somewhere with both teams around 105 to 10. I think it'll finish somewhere in the realm of like 107, 101. I think this game will be close, but I think the Warriors will hit some free throws late, and I think the Warriors will cover, and I think the game will go under. But I don't want to take that long in this video because we're currently at the 8.5-minute mark. So I'll just keep going with the rest of the MLB card. Game at 7 o'clock, you have the Reds and the Phillies. I will lean to the Reds here, actually. I know that the Phillies have looked pretty solid lately, and they ended up cashing us a play of the day with the Padres, against the Padres the other day. I actually like the way Molly's been pitching over the last couple of weeks. I think he's definitely been solid. And the Reds are still flying under the radar. I know they lost to the Cardinals yesterday. But at the same point, I still like the way they've been playing. I like the way Molly's been pitching. F1's been hit or miss. But I'll lean to the Reds on that one. Very small lean, though. I'm personally not going to bet it. Moving on, you have Toronto versus Arizona. I lean to Toronto here. I lean to Arizona here. Stroman's been very solid. His record's not great, but his ERA is very solid. Toronto did look good for 2 out of 3 games against the Yankees before losing yesterday. I just think that Arizona's the better team. I know that Adam Jones is injured and he will not be playing in this game, but Kelly's been pretty solid. I personally think Diamondbacks are the better team, and Toronto should not be a -125 to anybody. So for me, I'm going to lean to the Diamondbacks on that one. Moving on, you have the Braves and the Marlins with Soroka versus Urania. I lean to the over 7.5 here. And, I lean to the Braves at a -177 or -180. I don't think there's much value on it. I think the Braves should win this game. Braves -1.5 might make sense. Urania's been a pretty solid fade if you've been betting against him for the last year and a half or so. Soroka was fantastic in his first couple of starts. He has struggled lately, but he's still better than Urena. I think 7.5 is too low of a total. I know a lot of it has to do with the fact that it will be in the Marlins Stadium. So you have a bigger stadium, less home runs, and I get that. But I definitely don't trust either bullpen. And Soroka and Urena have not been great lately. So I think 7.5 is too low, as the Braves have the ability to score at least 5 runs by themselves. Lean to the over, and the Braves -1.5 in that one. Moving on, you had a pitching change with the Twins and the Tigers. It was originally supposed to be Kirk Gibson. It is now Michael Pineda versus Matt Boyd. In terms of this game, I would lean to the over 9. I know Boyd's a very solid pitcher. I personally hate Pineda. I don't think he's that great. He was okay with the Yankees back in the day, nothing special at the end, but he gives up a decent amount of home runs. Tigers' offense is not great by any means, but it is serviceable, and the Twins lead the MLB in home runs. So I know Boyd's been solid, but at the same point, I think 9's too low. I think this game will finish somewhere in the realm of 7-3, 7-4. I think the Twins will do pretty well, but I also don't trust Pineda. So in terms of this game, I'm not going to lean towards the direction. I'd lean slightly to the Twins, but I'm not going to bet on it because I really just dislike Pineda. But I would lean to the over in that game. Moving on, you have the Mets and the Rockies with Sanzatella versus DeGrom. I lean to the under 8, which is available at -119 at Bookmaker. In this game, Rockies did pick up a nice win, 3-1 yesterday over the Cubs. Mets did look good over the last series that they were in. But overall, DeGrom, I know he hasn't had the greatest year, but he's still the defending Cy Young Award winner, and the Rockies have struggled on the road this season. I actually wrote an article about this matchup for StatSalt.com, and if you want to check that out, you can on the site. But I personally lean to the under here as my main play. Sanzatella has actually been okay this season. Hasn't been amazing, hasn't been terrible. And the Rockies have been not that great on the road. And DeGrom, I expect to pitch well. So I'll lean to the under 8 at that one. Moving on, you have the Rays and the Red Sox with Porcello versus Chirinos. Porcello's been hit or miss this year, but I will take the Red Sox here. Just swept the Royals. Nice job by them getting back together. Chirinos has been solid this season, but it is in Fenway, and I like the way the Red Sox have been playing. Their bats are starting to heat up. Looks like they're starting to regain their form. Tampa's still been playing well. I'm not saying that Tampa's in a slump or anything, but I definitely think that at -110, I'll lean to Porcello at home here, and I think the Red Sox will take game 1 of that series. Moving on, you have the Yankees versus the Indians with German versus Plesac. Plesac's been okay so far since his transition from the minors. German's been very good this season, struggled in his last couple of starts. In terms of this game, I'll lean to the Yankees. Yankees are expected to get shortstop Didi Gregorius back for this game. Does that really matter? I don't know if it matters much for this game because of the fact that he has not actually played in a long time, so he shouldn't do much from the plate. It does impact a lot from a fielding standpoint, as Gregorius is a very solid and sure-handed fielder at the shortstop position. But in terms of this game, I'll lean to the Yankees here. They lost 2 out of 3 to Toronto, but they did win yesterday in the series finale. And Chad Green pitched over an inning, and he was terrible, which means he will not be pitching tonight. So if you do like the Yankees, you do not have to worry about a dreaded Chad Green sighting in the bullpen. So I'll lean to the Yankees on that one. Moving on, you have Oakland and Texas with Lynn versus Anderson. In terms of this game, I'm actually going to lean to the under in this one. I know it's kind of shocking with Texas and Oakland, but Anderson's been pretty solid this season. Lynn has actually been underrated over the last month or so, been pretty solid. And the Rangers offense, I know we ended up catching a play the day with them against the Orioles with the over in game 1. Since that one game, pretty low-scoring games. I believe it was 2-1 in extra innings and then 5-2 in that one. And Oakland, hit or miss with regard to their bullpen, but at the same point, I think Lynn's been pretty solid. Anderson's been pretty good. I think 10's a little bit too high, and I have seen some buyback on the under, so I will lean to the under 10 in that one. Moving on, you have the Orioles versus the Astros with Cole versus Yanoa. I lean to the over 8. There's no way I'm going to take Houston as a -350 favorite, and Yanoa has not been great. Cole's been okay, but I did mention that I do like him for overs because of the fact that he's a strikeout-based pitcher who tends to go so heavily on strikeouts that he might miss a spot and give up a couple home runs here and there. And the Orioles' bullpen's terrible. I think Houston could easily score 7 runs in this game by themselves, so I'll lean to the over 8 at that one. Moving on, you have Rookie Davis versus Brandon Woodruff in the Pirates versus the Brewers. I was right about the Brewers game yesterday with the fact that I originally liked the Marlins' play today, but I thought that the line just didn't look right. I thought the Brewers would win, and they ended up winning. In terms of this game, I will lean to the over 9.5. Davis he's an opener. He should be pitching an inning or so. It's his first start of the season. But overall, he started games in the past and never been great. His ERA in his career is above 7, I believe. And Woodruff has been really solid this year, but his last start against Pittsburgh, he got absolutely rocked. So I think 9.5 is too low of a total. I think both teams will score at least 5 runs here. I think the Brewers will take it 7-5. So I'll lean to the Brewers on that one. White Sox and Royals, we already gave that out for play of the day. Moving on, you have the Mariners and the Angels with Gonzalez versus Heaney. A lot of money's poured in on the Angels here, up from minus 155 to roughly minus 190. Mariners' bullpen will be completely depleted after losing in 14 innings to the Astros yesterday. In terms of this game, I'll lean to the Angels. Heaney's been pretty solid so far this season since returning from injury. Gonzalez was great to start the year, has struggled since, and overall, I don't like the Yankees at I don't like the Angels, I should say, at minus 190. I think that's too steep of a price, but I do think they'll win. And the Mariners, I don't really have any thoughts. Their bullpen's also terrible. I'll lean to the over 9, but overall, I'd lean to the Angels despite that heavy money line price. Moving on, you have the Nationals and the Padres with Margevicius pitching against Fetty. I'll lean to the over 9 here. Overcashed easily yesterday. I think that the both lineups have been solid lately. Both bullpens are not great by any means, and I think 9's a little bit too low. I know it's in Petco, so it might be a little tricky, but money has poured in on the over in this one. I think that makes sense. I will lean to the over there. And last game with the Dodgers and the Giants with Kershaw versus Pomeranz, I lean to the Dodgers at minus 1.5, obviously, as Kershaw's been fantastic this season. Pomeranz has been terrible, and I think the Dodgers should be able to win that game pretty easily. Question from Guap here, do I like the under in the Mets game a lot? At 8, I like it a lot because of the fact, at minus 120, it's a little bit steep. But at the same point, the Rockies' bullpen's actually been decent this year. The Mets' bullpen's been terrible, and that's the problem that you have with full game. But DeGrom, assuming that he has even anywhere near his best stuff, he should give you at least 7 innings. And I definitely think that at 8 with DeGrom on the mound, that total's pretty high. 7.5 is a little bit concerning with the Mets bullpen, but I think 8 has some value on it, and I would lean to the under. Do I like it a lot? I think it should hit in terms of that, but with the Mets bullpen, you never really know. And in terms of that game, I'm probably not going to bet that personally, but if you wanted something a little bit safer, you can look to the Rockies team total under. If you are truly afraid, you could take the Rockies team total under in the first 5. So that way you avoid the Mets bullpen entirely. But in terms of that game, I think that game is 4-2 written all over it. I think that game will go under. But the play of the day will be on the Chicago White Sox money line at plus 110 against the Kansas City Royals, as that game should be taking place at roughly 8:15. Before we conclude today's video, quick reminder of our sponsors at PointsBet, online sportsbook in New Jersey, partnered up with us, and they have a couple of great deals. The NBA Finals deal, they have a money line bet in which if you bet on the team money line and they are up after 3 quarters, you win and don't have to worry about sweating anything out in the 4th quarter. They also have a great deal, which is that the first 2 bets that you have up to 2 risk-free bets of up to $1,000. So if you bet $1,000 on any game and you end up losing, you get your money back, which is definitely a great deal for new users. Quick question from Big X, just catching you. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Any thoughts on the NBA over-under? I'm not going to bet the over-under tonight. I lean to the under, though, Big X. I think Klay Thompson defensively will help, and I think that him not being at 100% will definitely lead to some initial struggles. I'm going to lean to the under there. I think both teams get into the low hundreds. But with that being said, that's going to do it for this installment of Scott's Selections here for Friday, June 4th. And good luck to all of you and your respective plays today. Bye, everyone.